So this week we know that the Democrats are building up towards these televised primetime hearings on Thursday and Friday. That's what they could get the networks to agree to cover the January 6th hearings.
They have a committee assignment. It devolves over a period of a year to a political situation. What is the political situation? Threefold. One, discussions about getting rid of the Electoral College. Well, that requires, Andy, a constitutional amendment.
Then you got to get 75%
so
of the situation. That's not going to happen.
And that's not the way our country was set up. Number two, they want reforms in the Electoral Count Act. Well, that's good because they're making allegations against people that utilized as a defense the Electoral Count Act. So if they say they need to amend it to close, quote, the loophole, what are they prosecuting the people that are being accused of violating the Electoral Count Act?
Coming up with legal theory.
Okay, and then the third thing they want to do is they want to overturn any election integrity issues by having what? Same-day voter registration nationally.
If you need a constitutional amendment to solve your problem isn't being solved because there's not going to be a constitutional amendment. We're not going to have those. That is not happening. There's not that kind of support in the United States. It would take years to do, and there's not that kind of support. So the idea that that's the distraction issue, that they would move there, tells you a lot about what they actually have in the hearing. I think is nothing. I've heard interviews from people working on it saying they don't have smoking guns. Well, then what is the point of this? Is typical of them setting themselves up for failure because they get the primetime slot. I mean, one is on Friday night, so you can question that anyways. But Thursday, let's say that's the big day they try to throw. Again, you get people to tune in. You don't have really compelling new info. You're just repeating the same info. And then you start getting into the Electoral College. Guess what people do?
Turn it off. Yeah.
They start falling asleep. No one wants to hear Jamie Raskin, former constitutional law professor, keep being a constitutional law professor. They want either some smoking guns and some big news that's going to rock the political world, or don't have this.
You and I have done this. We have been on the halls of the Senate. We've been on the floor of the United States Senate. They set these expectations way up here, and then they just can't deliver. And when they can't deliver, what happens is then they go to these other things. And it's going to be, right, they don't want the Adam Schiff show again.
They want to actually tighten the Insurrection Act to make it harder for a president to deploy the military domestically for use on civilians. They are accusing President Trump of not doing that day.
Well,
again, this is the second law that they want to change, which doesn't make sense with what they are alleging didn't happen.
President Trump had authorized 20,000 National Guard troops to be deployed around Washington, D.C. during the January 6th timeframe. Nancy Pelosi was the one who said no, and as Speaker of the House, she had the authority to do it, as did the Sergeant-at-Arms.
I don't think they're trying to necessarily get Democrats. I mean, Democrats can tune in and hear their own thing. Republicans, not persuadable. They're trying to get the small group of independents left in the country, and there's not a ton, who could somehow say what they learn from this hearing is going to impact what congressman or senator they vote for in the midterms coming up. Now, that's already a tough connection because it's not a presidential election coming up. So they're saying things like, we don't have enough voices. They're calling you freaks.
What we have to do is radically rethink how we communicate. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a role to play here. Democrats have to be more aggressive. We have to invest in building up our own megaphone to compete with Republicans. We need to, and we know that doesn't mean we build our own Fox News. It doesn't mean we run away from the mainstream media, but we have to invest in progressive outlets.
They own the mainstream media. They have MSNBC. They have CNN. They own most of the newspapers. Certainly New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times. So take those and most of the others. They also have the White House, the biggest bully pulpit in the world. They have the Speaker of the House. They have the leader of the Senate. So what else does their messaging need, Dan Pfieffer, former communications director? What other tools could you possibly have than control of social media, which they have, control of mainstream media, which he said they have, control of the White House and Senate. What else? What else is it?
They needed CNN Plus.
Yeah, right.
This tells you that the substance of the hearing, okay, the substance of the actual hearing is not going to be substantive. They have moved it to, as you said, Jordan, a political hearing, which is a good way to say, they've already said, like you said, there's no smoking gun. What does that mean? 2 days of boring TV.
So it's very typical Congress is that you're going to see flashy show that is likely meaningless. But again, there's this build-up this week. It's going to be a hyper-partisan attack on conservatives all week. You need to be prepared for it.